If someone had told me a year ago that my wife and my best friend were secretly in love, I would have laughed in their face. But one late-night text shattered everything I thought I knew. I've been sitting here for what feels like forever, just staring at my laptop screen, completely stuck. I keep asking myself how things ever ended up like this. There was a time I believed my marriage was rock solid. Emily and I had been together for a decade, married for 6 of those years, and I really thought we had something rare. You know that kind of relationship people envy where folks say, those two were meant for each other? That's what I believed we had. Emily and me. At least that's what I used to think. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting here now, second-guessing everything, I would have laughed it off. Emily is stunning, incredibly sharp, and seems to thrive at everything she does. She works as a project manager for a tech firm, constantly juggling deadlines and managing big responsibilities. I admired that about her. Honestly, a part of me still does. But something's shifted lately. It's not easy to explain, but our home doesn't feel the same. There's this strange tension in the air, like there's an invisible wall between us. At first, I chalked it up to work stress. Emily's job is no joke, and I figured maybe it was just taking a toll on her. I told myself it was just a rough patch. Everyone goes through those, right? Still, I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling in my gut. It started with the small things, how she never lets go of her phone anymore, how her style subtly changed. She started putting more effort into how she looked, even on weekends when we were just lounging around. Then came the sudden uptick in business trips. I've never been the suspicious type. I always trusted her. I wanted to trust her. But that's the thing about trust. Once cracks start to form, even the smallest things feel like warning signs. I kept brushing it off, convincing myself I was reading into things too much. I mean, come on, it's Emily. She'd never lie to me. Or at least that's what I thought. A few months back, things started getting noticeably different. Emily began coming home late more and more often. Every time I asked, she had a reason. Last-minute meetings, coworkers needing help, project deadlines. I tried to take it in stride, but when those nights became the norm rather than the exception, I couldn't shake the sense that something was off. One evening, while we were eating dinner, I tried to bring it up without sounding accusatory. Hey Em, you've been swamped with work lately. Everything all right over there? She barely looked up, just mumbled, yeah, things are just hectic. We've got this big launch coming up, so I've been pulling longer hours. I nodded, not wanting to make her feel like I was interrogating her. But the truth is, it wasn't just the long hours. She felt distant. We were sharing the same space, but it was like she wasn't really there anymore. Our conversations used to be full of life. Now, it was all surface-level stuff. I found myself missing her, even while she was sitting right next to me. Then one night, we were watching Netflix on the couch and she got a text. She glanced at her phone, then quickly flipped it over so the screen was hidden. Just that small movement hit me like a punch to the chest. It felt secretive. Wrong. I wanted to ask what it was about. I should have. But I didn't. Instead, I sat there in silence, trying to convince myself that I was being silly. That's what love does, right? It makes you doubt yourself, even when your instincts are screaming. A few days after that, I tried to rekindle what we had. I suggested we go out, just the two of us like old times. Emily smiled, that same sweet smile that used to make everything feel okay, and said she'd love to. I started to believe maybe I was just imagining things. But when the night came, she canceled last minute, saying a friend needed her. It always seemed to be something. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was just being insecure, or if the life I thought we had was slowly slipping away. And that's when the question finally hit me, was there someone else? Not long after that, I started noticing patterns I couldn't ignore. Like how Emily never left her phone out in the open anymore. She used to be pretty careless with it, leaving it on the kitchen table or the bathroom counter. Lately, it was practically glued to her hand. She'd be texting late into the night, and sometimes she'd step out of the room when I walked in. I kept trying to talk myself down. Maybe work really was just insane. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But deep down, that ache in my stomach kept tightening. One weekend, trying to salvage whatever was left, I suggested we take a little getaway. Let's head up to the cabin, just you and me. A couple of days away from everything. What do you think? She paused. I could see her trying to find the right words. I can't, Jake. There's too much going on at work right now. Maybe another weekend? It was like every time I reached out, she pulled further away. I didn't know what to make of it. Was I the problem? Had she just stopped loving me? Then something odd happened with our close friends, Eric and Jenna. I've known Eric since college. He's been my closest friend through every stage of life. Heartbreaks, late nights, new jobs, all of it. Jenna, his wife, is one of the kindest souls I've ever met. The four of us used to hang out all the time, double dates, backyard barbecues, weekend get-togethers. But lately, Emily started acting weird around them. She'd come up with reasons not to join, or if she did, she was unusually quiet. Preoccupied. It stood out. One night, after dinner at Eric and Jenna's place, Eric pulled me aside. He looked uncomfortable, like he had something to get off his chest but wasn't sure how to say it. "Hey man, everything okay with you and Emily?" I blinked, caught off guard. "Yeah, why?" Eric gave a half-hearted shrug, like he didn't want to pry too much. "I don't know, man. You two just seem a little off lately." Jenna said Emily's been looking stressed. I forced a laugh, trying to brush it off like it was nothing. Yeah, work's been running her into the ground. But the second that conversation ended, it was all I could think about. If even Eric and Jenna were picking up on something, maybe it wasn't just in my head. Maybe I wasn't just being overly sensitive or paranoid. Still, the idea that Emily, my wife, could be keeping something from me, something serious. I couldn't wrap my head around it. We had built a whole life together. We were supposed to be each other's safe place. That's what I always believed. But now, looking at her, I wasn't so sure anymore. After that talk with Eric, something shifted in me. I started noticing everything. Her tone. The way she looked at me or didn't. The little hesitations in her voice. I felt like I was trying to solve a puzzle I didn't even want to finish. It made me feel wrong, like I was invading her space, but I needed to understand what was happening. I needed some kind of truth, even if it hurt. Then came that Friday night. Emily walked through the door around midnight. I was sitting there on the couch, TV remote in hand, but I couldn't tell you what was on. I wasn't really watching anything. I was just waiting. And when she finally came in, something about her was different. Her hair was perfectly styled, makeup still fresh, and she was wearing a sleek black dress I didn't recognize. One I definitely hadn't seen her wear to work. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice even though I could feel my heart pounding. "Long day." She gave me a tired smile, but her eyes didn't match. "Yeah, really long. I'm beat." That was it. No details. No stories. Just a quick kiss on the forehead and straight to the shower. The sound of water echoed down the hallway, but the silence between us roared louder. I noticed her phone, left behind on the coffee table for once. My stomach twisted. I had never snooped in my life, never even thought about it. But that phone felt like a door, one that might have all the answers I'd been too afraid to ask for. My hand hovered over it, shaking. I didn't want to be that guy. But I was that guy now, wasn't I? The one who no longer trusted the woman he loved. And then the phone lit up. A message preview appeared on the screen, from someone saved as B. I froze. Tonight was perfect. Can't wait for next time. My chest felt like it caved in. I couldn't breathe. I stared at those words like they might change if I looked long enough. I wanted to believe it was nothing, that I was misreading it, but how could I? Everything made sense now. The late nights. The changes. The distance. It was like a jigsaw puzzle I had been refusing to finish, and that message was the last piece falling into place. Emily was still in the shower, and I could have walked down the hall and confronted her right then and there. Demanded the truth. But I didn't move. I just sat there, numb, feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath me. Eventually, I turned off the TV and climbed into bed. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, haunted by one word: perfect. The next few days were unbearable. That message kept looping in my head. Every time Emily looked at me, I felt sick. I wanted to scream, to ask her who B was, what perfect meant, but the words stayed locked in my throat. I think I was scared of confirming what I already knew, scared of the finality of it. So I did nothing. I tried to act like things were normal. But inside I was unraveling. We sat down to dinner one night, and the silence between us was almost unbearable. We used to laugh, tease each other, talk about everything and nothing. Now it was just the clink of silverware and the weight of everything left unsaid. "You're quiet tonight," Emily said softly, looking up from her plate. I forced a shrug. "Just tired, I guess." She gave a small smile, the kind that used to feel warm. But now it felt hollow. "Yeah, me too." That was the moment I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep playing along in this charade, hoping things would magically fix themselves. I needed to know the truth, even if it shattered me. After dinner, she said she was going out to meet a friend. Again. It was the third time that week. She always had somewhere to be, someone to see. I watched her get ready, curling her hair, applying lipstick carefully, checking her reflection with that extra attention to detail. As soon as she walked out the door, I grabbed my jacket and keys. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew I couldn't sit in that house another minute, drowning in my thoughts. I started driving, no real direction, just my emotions taking the wheel. A part of me still clung to the hope that I was wrong, that there was some explanation. But then those words flashed through my head again. Tonight was perfect. Can't wait for next time. They burned like a brand. Somehow, without realizing where I was headed, I ended up parked outside Eric and Jenna's house. I didn't have a plan, I just needed someone. And Eric, he's always been that guy for me. The one person I could turn to no matter what. If anyone could help me make sense of this mess, it was him. I walked up to the door and knocked, trying to keep my composure. A few moments later, Eric opened it, his expression shifting the second he saw me. "Jake? Everything okay?" he asked, clearly surprised. I stepped inside without really thinking, the words spilling out before I could even stop them. "I think Emily's seeing someone else." His face drained of color like I'd just punched the air out of him. For a second he didn't say a word, just stood there staring at me stunned. "What makes you think that?" I laid it all out, the late nights, the changes in her behavior, the message from someone saved as B. I watched his face as I spoke, and somewhere in the middle of it all, something shifted in his eyes. It wasn't just shock, it was like recognition. Like a truth he already knew but didn't want to face. When I finally stopped talking, he exhaled slowly and looked away. "Jake, maybe you need to talk to her directly. Lay it all out. You don't want to jump to conclusions without hearing her side." His answer didn't sit right. It felt too practiced, too distant. Like he was trying to keep something buried. I was about to press him on it when Jenna walked in, cheerful as ever. "Jake." "Hey," she said warmly. "Everything all right?" I forced a smile, trying to play it off. "Yeah. Just catching up with Eric for a bit." Jenna nodded, but her eyes darted between the two of us, clearly sensing the tension. "Well, if you need anything, you know we're here." I thanked them and left shortly after, but my thoughts were anything but settled. On the drive back home, I couldn't stop replaying Eric's reaction in my head. Something about it had me on edge. He hadn't just been surprised, he'd looked guilty. Nervous. That's when it hit me. Maybe this wasn't just about Emily. The rest of the drive passed in a blur. I was trapped in my own thoughts, trying to piece it all together. Emily's shift in behavior, the message from B, and now this strange tension with Eric. It all felt connected in a way I wasn't ready to admit out loud. When I finally got home, the house was quiet. Empty. Emily still wasn't back. The silence wrapped around me like a weight. I dropped onto the couch and stared at my phone, hoping for some kind of message, anything. But the screen stayed dark. I don't know what came over me, but something inside me snapped. I couldn't keep wondering anymore. I needed answers, not guesses. Her laptop was on the kitchen counter, and I knew she barely touched it anymore. She did everything on her phone these days. Still, I figured it was worth checking. I opened the lid. No password. I paused, guilt rising in my chest. This wasn't me, I'd never crossed a line like this before. But desperation changes you. I needed the truth. I skimmed through her inbox. Most of it was work-related, boring stuff. But then I saw it, a string of old emails between her and Jenna. Out of curiosity, I opened one. What I read made my stomach turn. "I don't know what to do, Jen. I think I'm falling for him." I froze, staring at the screen like I'd just been slapped. It's not like it used to be with Jake. He's a good man, but this feels different. I'm scared. I sat there numb. She was talking about someone else. She had feelings. Real ones. And Jenna knew. All those nights I sat across from her, pouring my heart out, and she never said a word. I kept reading, heart racing. The messages weren't graphic, but they were full of emotional confession. Unspoken feelings. Guilt. Confusion. And Jenna had been her sounding board through all of it. My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. I felt like I'd been betrayed twice, by my wife and by a friend I trusted. But the worst part? I still didn't know who this guy was. Who was B? Was he the one she was writing about? About an hour later, the door opened. Emily walked in like nothing had happened, the same easy smile on her face. She looked tired but content, like her night had been everything she needed it to be. "Hey, still awake?" she asked, setting her purse down. "Yeah," I replied, forcing calm into my voice. "Just couldn't sleep." She leaned in, kissed me on the cheek, and made her way upstairs. No guilt. No hesitation. I stayed on the couch, unable to move, feeling like a stranger in my own home. I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't keep acting like everything was fine. But I also couldn't confront her, not yet. I wasn't ready. I needed time. I needed to figure out how to survive the truth. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the shadows on the ceiling, one question consumed me. Had Eric, my best friend, been hiding something from me all along? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, those words echoed in my mind, "I'm falling for him." They played like a broken record, taunting me, pulling me deeper into this pit of disbelief. And the part that twisted the knife even more was knowing Jenna had been in on it. I couldn't stop thinking about Eric's face that night, the way he deflected, the uneasiness in his eyes, and how Jenna smiled at me like we were all still friends. The next morning, I woke up with this weight sitting on my chest. My heart felt like it was beating too fast and too slow at the same time. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't keep living in this fog, pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. But I wasn't ready to confront Emily yet, not until I knew the whole story. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to an old buddy of mine who works in IT. I laid it out for him, told him something wasn't right, that I needed to recover deleted messages from Emily's phone. He didn't ask for details. Just told me to send the phone over and he'd take care of the rest. She was in the shower when I took it, her phone sitting right there on the nightstand. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it, slipping it into my bag. I kept expecting her to step out and catch me, but she didn't. I handed the phone off later that day and spent the rest of the day feeling like I was losing my mind. Guilt sat heavy in my stomach, but it was mixed with this quiet, burning need to know the truth. I didn't know what I wanted more, to be wrong or to finally have proof. That night, Emily came home late again. I didn't say much. Just told her I was tired and went to bed. She didn't even ask about the phone. Or maybe she noticed and just didn't care. The following day my friend called. "I got everything," he said, his voice low. "You sure you want to see it?" I drove to his place, barely remembering the route. My chest was tight the whole way. When I got there, he handed me a manila folder with the recovered messages. I just stared at it, hands trembling. I knew opening it would change everything. But I had to. Inside were text messages, hundreds of them. And there it was. "Emily and Eric. I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was amazing. I don't know how we're going to keep doing this. We have to be more careful. Jake's getting suspicious." My world cracked wide open. Eric. My best friend. The guy I would have trusted with my life, he was the one. It felt like all the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Suddenly, every moment made sense. The weird tension when we all hung out. The side glances. Jenna's silence. They'd all known. All of them. Emily had been with him. And Eric had smiled in my face while doing it. I didn't even realize I was driving until I looked up and saw I was parked outside Eric's place. My knuckles were white, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me upright. I had no plan. I just knew I couldn't hold it in any longer. I got out, walked to the door and knocked hard. My whole body was shaking, not from fear but from fury. I didn't even care how it looked. I just wanted to look him in the eye. Eric opened the door and the moment he saw me, he knew. "Eric," I said, my voice low but shaking. "You've been sleeping with my wife." The expression on his face, God, I'll never forget it. His eyes widened. His mouth dropped open slightly. And for a split second I saw it, fear. Real fear. It passed quickly but I caught it, and it poured fuel on the fire already burning inside me. "Jake, listen," he started, stepping outside with his hands raised, trying to calm me. "Don't," I snapped, cutting him off. "Don't even try to explain. I've read the messages. I know." His shoulders dropped and the guilt hit him like a wave. I could see it in his face. He didn't even try to deny it. No excuses, no lies. Just a heavy sigh as he dragged a hand down his face. "I didn't want it to come out like this." "Like this?" I nearly shouted. My fists were clenched at my sides and I could feel the heat rising. "You thought I was never going to find out? That you'd just keep smiling in my face while you were sneaking around with my wife?" He looked away, eyes on the ground. "It wasn't supposed to happen, man. I swear." I laughed, one of those bitter, empty laughs. "Not supposed to happen? Eric, do you hear yourself? You were sleeping with Emily. And now you're telling me this was some kind of accident." His face twisted in guilt, but I couldn't even look at him anymore. He didn't have anything to say for himself. He just stood there like a man who'd finally realized the mess he'd made, looking small and pathetic, while my whole world was collapsing around me. I wanted to hit him, I really did. Every instinct in me was screaming to knock him down, to make him feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. But I didn't. I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. As much as I hated him in that moment, I wasn't going to become someone I wouldn't recognize in the mirror later. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay steady. How long has it been going on? Eric shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward the street like the answer might somehow be out there. A few months, he said quietly. It felt like someone had kicked me in the gut. Months? I whispered, my voice cracking. You were my best friend, Eric. I trusted you with everything. I know, man. I know, he said quickly, almost desperate. I messed up. It's the biggest mistake of my life. I clenched my jaw, trying to hold it together. A mistake. I laughed bitterly. Forgetting someone's birthday is a mistake. Getting drunk and saying something stupid, that's a mistake. What you did, that was a choice. Every time you looked me in the eye while you were sneaking around with her, you made a choice. He flinched at that. Good. I wanted my words to cut deep. I wanted him to feel it. You think you can just say sorry and expect it to mean something? I shook my head. You're unbelievable. Eric took a tentative step toward me, his hand out like he thought we could still fix this. Jake, just let me explain. Don't touch me, I said, my voice rising as I stepped back. You don't get to act like this wasn't a choice. Like you didn't think it through. You chose to sleep with my wife. He stopped, his hands slowly going back up in surrender. I swear I never meant for it to go that far. Just happened. We didn't plan it. Hearing her name in his mouth made my stomach turn. You didn't plan it? I shouted. You planned it every single time you met up with her. Every time you lied to me. Don't act like this was some accident. You both knew exactly what you were doing. He couldn't even meet my eyes. We stood there in silence, just breathing in the wreckage of what used to be our friendship. I felt like I was standing in the middle of my own funeral. Then a thought hit me like a punch to the chest. What about Jenna? I asked, my voice cold. Does she know? Eric's face twisted with pain. She knows, bits and pieces. But not everything. Of course not, I muttered. You've been lying to her too. Just like you lied to me. Just like she lied by pretending nothing was wrong. Eric didn't try to defend himself. Maybe he knew there wasn't anything left to defend. I stared at him, the man who'd once felt like a brother to me, and now I couldn't even look at him without feeling sick. I don't even know who you are anymore, I said, my voice trembling. He flinched. I think that hurt more than anything else I could have said. But I was done. There was nothing left. No more apologies, no more excuses. I'm done, I said, turning away. You and Emily? You two deserve each other. I didn't wait to see his reaction. I walked away, jaw tight, fists clenched, trying to hold back everything that was breaking inside me. I got into my car and drove, my hands gripping the wheel so tight it felt like it might snap in half. The drive was a blur. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to move, to escape the weight of what had just happened. Emily, Eric. The two people I thought I could trust more than anyone, both of them had been stabbing me in the back while smiling in my face. Eventually I found myself parked near the beach, staring out at the waves, trying to breathe. Trying to think. But all I could feel was this hollow, burning ache in my chest. Like something had died, and the silence was the only thing left behind. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. But then I looked. A text from Emily. Hey, I'll be home in a bit. Can we talk? I stared at the screen, my stomach in knots. She had no idea I knew. Not yet. She was probably rehearsing some story, trying to keep the mask on a little longer. I typed back. Yeah, we need to talk. The drive home felt like I was carrying the weight of everything I used to believe. I couldn't stop picturing those messages, hearing Eric's voice, imagining how many times they'd laughed together behind my back. When I walked through the door, she was already there, sitting at the kitchen table. She looked nervous, but it was clear she didn't know just how much I knew. Hey, she said softly. You okay? I dropped my keys on the counter and looked at her, really looked. The person sitting there wasn't the woman I married. Or maybe she was, and I just never saw her clearly before. You need to tell me the truth, Emily, I said, my voice low and steady. Right now. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? The anger was bubbling just beneath the surface, but I held it back with everything I had. I wasn't about to let her spin this into something else. I needed her to see the truth, to feel the weight of it. I know, Emily, I said, my voice low but firm. I know about you and Eric. Her eyes went wide, frozen like a deer caught in headlights. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again, like she was scrambling for words that wouldn't come. But it was too late for all that. There was nowhere for her to run now. Jake, she finally whispered, her voice trembling. Don't, I cut her off, raising my hand. Don't lie to me. I've seen the messages. I know everything. Her face went pale as paper. Her hands, resting on the edge of the table, started to tremble. And for the first time in what felt like months, she didn't have a comeback. No excuses. Just silence. How long? I asked, though my voice was barely more than a whisper. How long have you been cheating on me with my best friend? She flinched at the way I said it. No filter, no softening. She deserved to hear it exactly like that. 6 months, she said, barely audible. 6 months. It hit me like a wrecking ball all over again. Half a year of lies, of watching them smile in my face while stabbing me in the back. Of her coming home late, crawling into our bed like everything was normal. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, my thoughts spinning out of control. How could you do this to me? I choked out. How could you lie to me for that long? I gave you everything, Emily. I trusted you with my whole heart. She started crying, tears falling freely down her cheeks. I didn't want to hurt you, she sobbed. It got out of hand. I didn't mean for it to happen. I let out a bitter laugh. That's what you're going with? It got out of hand? It's not like you tripped and fell into his bed, Emily. She tried to wipe her face, but the guilt was written all over it. It started when Eric and I started spending more time together, she admitted. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere. I swear. I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself. So you just, what? Slipped into an affair with him over coffee and small talk? Was I that blind? That easy to fool? It wasn't just physical, she said, her voice barely holding together. I mean, yes, that happened, but it wasn't just that. I was confused and I don't know what I was feeling. I looked at her, heart pounding. Don't tell me you love him. She froze, and for a second I saw it. The guilt turned to fear. I don't know what I feel anymore, she whispered. I didn't want to lose you. I really didn't. But she already had. Long before I found the messages, she'd chosen someone else. The love I gave her, the life we built, it all meant less to her than whatever pull she felt toward Eric. You already lost me, I said, my voice quiet, hollow. You lost me the moment you chose to lie. She reached for me, panic rising in her eyes. Jake, please, she begged, her voice cracking. We can work through this. I love you. I still love you. I stepped back, not letting her hand reach mine. No, Emily. You don't get to say that. You don't even know what love is. The words cut through the air, sharp and final. She collapsed into the chair behind her, sobbing uncontrollably. But I didn't feel anything anymore. Not pity. Not sadness. Just emptiness. I turned and walked out of the kitchen. Out of the house. Away from her. There was nothing left to say. A week passed after that night. I moved through the days like a ghost, not really there, not really anywhere. Emily moved out, into a hotel, I think. We hadn't spoken since. The house felt colder now, like it could sense the absence of trust, of meaning. I barely ate. I barely slept. And then my phone rang. Eric. His name glowing on the screen made my blood boil. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something made me answer. Maybe I wanted to hear him squirm. Maybe I wanted to hear how he'd try to justify it. What do you want, Eric? I said, voice sharp, clipped. There was a pause before he spoke. Jake, I needed to tell you something, he said, his voice stripped of any confidence. Jenna knows. I told her everything. That caught me off guard. I sat up, heart pounding. I had always suspected Jenna knew more than she let on, but I didn't expect Eric to admit anything, especially not voluntarily. And? I said coldly. What now? She forgave me, he said, and it sounded like even he didn't believe it. I don't know how, but she did. I told her everything, about how it started, how long it went on. I thought she'd leave me. I was sure of it. But she said she wanted to work through it. I felt something turn in my stomach. I couldn't understand it. How do you look someone in the eye after something like that? How do you stay? Jenna had chosen to forgive. Maybe that's strength. Maybe it's denial. I don't know. But I knew one thing, there was no forgiveness in me. Not for him. Not for Emily. And what about Emily? I asked, my voice flat, almost empty. There was a pause on the line before Eric answered. It's over, he said finally. I told her I couldn't do this anymore. I have to make things right with Jenna. I let out a humorless laugh, shaking my head. So, that's it? You're just walking away now? After everything you did together, you're just done? He didn't answer right away. The silence told me more than any words could. It's not like that, he said softly. I made a mistake, Jake. A terrible one. I never should have let it happen. But you did, I snapped, the anger flaring up again. You both did. I'm sorry, he said, and I could hear the weight in his voice. I know that probably doesn't mean anything coming from me, but I am. Yeah, well, I muttered. Sorry doesn't undo any of this. And with that I ended the call. I didn't want to hear any more apologies from him. He had made his choice, they had. And now he was leaving her behind just like that. Emily had given everything up for him, and he walked away the moment things got uncomfortable. A part of me felt a dark satisfaction in that. But another part of me felt sad. We had built a life together. 10 years of memories, laughter, struggles. And now it was all ash. Gone. After that call, I realized I couldn't keep trying to sort through this mess on my own. I found a therapist, Dr. Harris. It was the first time I'd ever opened up to someone who didn't know me, and at first it felt strange. Like I was just handing my pain to a stranger. But slowly, session by session, I started to unravel. The rage, the betrayal, the weight that had been crushing me, it all came spilling out. Dr. Harris didn't sugarcoat things. He didn't try to convince me everything would be fine. Instead, he helped me see the truth for what it was. Forgiveness isn't the goal, he said during one session. This is about reclaiming your peace. Letting go of what you can't control. That's how you move forward. And that stuck with me. Because for months, I'd been letting their betrayal define me. But it didn't have to. Meanwhile, Emily's life was unraveling. Eric had bailed and she was left standing alone in the rubble. After our divorce was finalized, she moved out of the house. Our house. She begged me to let her stay a while longer just until she figured things out. But I couldn't do it. That house was built on trust and she had burned every inch of it. Her family wasn't close by and her career had taken a hit. Word got around about the affair. People talk. It wasn't long before she had to leave the job she loved. She stayed with a friend for a while, but even that fell apart. One night I got a text from her. I'm sorry for everything. I don't know what to do anymore. I have nowhere to go. Please, Jake, help me. I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen, the old urge rising up. To step in, to fix things, to be the guy she could always rely on. But I wasn't that guy anymore. Not for her. Therapy had taught me something I never understood before. Loving someone doesn't mean saving them from the consequences of their own choices. She had made hers. She had built this moment herself. I didn't reply. She had lost the house. She had lost him. And now, without a stable job or a place to stay, she was drowning in the very storm she had created. For the first time in a long while, I felt a strange quiet inside me. Not happiness, but peace. I wasn't waiting for answers anymore. I wasn't carrying the weight of her betrayal around like a burden I was afraid to drop. She had destroyed everything, and in the end she was left with nothing but the wreckage. I was finally moving forward. And she was left standing in the ashes.